Uh,
Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Time is 10:03, and this is the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation Orthotists and Prosthetists Advisory Board meeting. And today is Thursday, May the 23rd. Thank y'all very much for being here and taking time out of y'all's busy schedule to uh, to be on this meeting. So if everyone can mute their mics as we're kind of going along here, and then if we're needing comments at that point, unmute. It just help things move along. Okay. Roll call. If everyone can. See, I don't have a list of everyone. Can we do the roll call?
I can do the roll call for you.
Perfect. Thanks, Hannah.
Catherine Mize. Miguel Mojica.
Here.
David Arends.
Here.
Randall Duncan.
Here.
Mark Kirchner.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Mark Kirchner.
Next will be the approval of the minutes. Those were sent out to you. If y'all review those, hopefully y'all have, and I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thanks, Mark. And then if I can get a second.
Second.
And then Anna, can you do the roll call?
Yes, sir. Miguel Mojica.
Aye.
David Arends.
Aye.
Randall Duncan.
Aye.
Mark Kirchner.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
Motion passes, sir.
Thank you very much. Next in line will be the public comment. And I believe we do have one public comment. Did that individual join us?
Let me see. We do have one public commenter, but I do not see him in our meeting. He has not joined the meeting.
Okay.
If we do happen to get him in the meeting, he might be having some issues with WebEx. I'll let you know, and
Okay.
we can back to that agenda item.
Okay. So we go ahead and move on to the staff reports. We'll revisit this. He did send something in, and I did review that in regards to that public comment. Do they have to be present for us to review that comment? Those comments, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. All the public comments that are written and sent in, those are sent to the board beforehand, but we do not read those during the meeting.
Okay. So they'd have to be here to bring that topic up.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Then let's go ahead and move on to the staff reports, and we'll do the licensing division.
Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Regina Horton, and I'm the team lead for the health professions team, and I will be providing the statistic report for Orthotists and Prosthetists program. You should have a copy of the report in front of you. For second quarter fiscal year 2024, we issued a total of 9 new individual licenses, and we renewed 51 licenses with 100% renewing online. And we have second quarter fiscal year 2024 for facility licenses was a total of 5 new licenses issued and 21 renewals completed, 100% of those renewals done online. This concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
Yes. How many new orthotic prosthetic assistant licenses were done in 24 or 23?
So for licensed prosthetist assistant, we had 1, and there were no licenses issued for the orthotist assistant.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next on the list is going to be the customer service division.
Good morning, board members and TDLR staff. My name is Myra Rodriguez, and I am one of the managers in customer service that oversees this program for our division. If you can see here in the report before you, we have our statistics for total phone calls and emails for this current fiscal year, 2024. It is consistently lower in numbers as far as for us to compare with the 2023 fiscal year. Not by a lot, but it is lower. Our most current months are 63 total contacts. That is 12 emails and 51 phone calls. And if you can just take a look really quickly at the numbers for the last fiscal year, you can see that they're slightly lower in numbers, but it's been a trend for this current fiscal year, just slightly lower. And that is what we have for our division currently for total phone calls and emails. And I'm available for any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the board? We're very quiet today.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Myra. Appreciate it. And we're moving on to the enforcement division.
Hello again, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Liz Wiggins. I'm a prosecutor with the Enforcement Division. I'm going to cover a few highlights for you. First, you're going to see that we have a specific data range that we're looking at for this report. So I want to clarify that this report is going to cover, for the column of 2023, it's going to include data from September 1st of 2022 through March 31st of 2023. And the second column of 2024, that's actually going to be data from September 1st of 2023 through March 31st of 2024. So just to clarify that data that we're looking at. At the very top, you have the division's performance measures, which are reported to the legislature. You can see that overall, your program cases remain a small percentage of the department's overall cases. And in fact, you can see that for 2024, the cases open for your program, 83% of those were closed in 6 months or less from the date they were open, which is well above the percentage of cases that are closed in that same time frame on average for the department as a whole. So this tells us that your program cases are going to continue to move pretty quickly during this period, more than the average enforcement case. If we can move to page 2 of the report. And there you're going to find the caseloads and enforcement section under those pie graphs. This shows us that the department opened 3 times as many complaints in 2024 during this period. Under the orders issued section, you'll see that 4 agreed orders were also issued during this period. And that leads us to that penalties and consumer remedies, showing us that all the penalties assessed were also collected. And if we can move to page 3. And that's where you're going to find the alleged violations at opening. And the very next section after that is going to have the details of the violations which resulted in disciplinary action. At the previous board meeting, I was asked about the number of cases that had been opened that had a standard of care element to the complaint. So I want to go ahead and respond to that question now. For fiscal year 23, which is through March 31st of 2023, the same time period we're looking at for this report, there was 1 case opened for the investigation that came from a consumer and had a standard of care element. It was later closed due to insufficient evidence. For the same time period, fiscal year 24 through March 31st of 2024, there was 1 case open from a consumer that is still pending, and there were 3 cases open that came from our department field inspections that were all closed with agreed orders. I also want to make an announcement that we're actively seeking experts that are in good standing to serve as subject matter experts to assist our enforcement division with complaint case reviews. If you know anyone interested, the application is on our website. And that's it for me. I'm available if you have questions.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I think you had mentioned that there was an application for people to apply. Did anybody apply since our last meeting?
I do not I do not believe so. And if there's anybody on the call that has different information and wants to correct me, that would be great. But my understanding is that there has not been any additional applications at this time.
Okay, and then how many people do you have now that are helping you out with that component?
We have one at this time.
Oh, okay, so, and if I understood it correctly, anybody on this advisory board can volunteer to do that or to fill the application out, is that correct?
That is my understanding. And again, if anybody on here knows anything different, please correct me. But yes, that is my understanding. I believe that lots of advisory board members and other programs and stuff like that, that they do serve as subject matter, experts as well.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions from the board? Again, a very quiet group. Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So the next on the schedule is going to be the compliance division report. Steve, can you do that for us, please?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Steve Eaker with the Compliance Division. We'll run through our latest report. What we've been up to. We've been working on updates to the rules related to itemized billing in response to Senate Bill 490, and those updates and edits are ready and for your review today. We continue to work on other bill implementation teams for the medical and health related bills that passed during the last session. And we're working with E&E and Shanasty on potential updates to the educational requirements for the O&P assistance. We're also working, as usual, to assist enforcement, field inspections, licensing, education, and examination, and customer service with any questions they have, and addressing questions and emails from the licensees. And we're working to update our continuing education review process with that team. In terms of outreach, we're working on our Health Monitor newsletter. We had one in March. We're going to have another one in a couple weeks. List of the previous editions can be found on our website. We, in this upcoming one, will incorporate whatever rule package updates pass during, when these rules pass, we will send that through a newsletter, and we'll update the website and send all of our subscribers updates relating to any changes in the rule package. And we'll be updating everyone on all of this during the August meeting in San Antonio as well. That's about all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Any comments or questions from the board? All right. We'll move on then. The next one will be the Field Inspections Division. Fernando Reyes.
Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Fernando Reyes. I'm a South Region Manager with the Field Inspections Division, and I'll be giving our division report this morning. It's a rather short report dealing with statistics, and so this is for the 3 licenses: the orthotist facilities, prosthetist facilities, and the dual license orthotists and prosthetists. As you can see, our statistics at the bottom on the right-hand column, we've completed 78% of what we completed last year, 85 inspections compared to 108. So we're right on track in your program to complete those inspections on time. I don't have any current projects for your program to report at this time. And so if there's not any questions about the stats.
In regards to the amount that you completed, you're saying you're pretty much up to the amount that you wanted, comparing it to last year?
Correct. We're 78%, almost 79% of the 108 that we completed for all 4 quarters of inspections. So we're about mid. We have one more month in quarter 3, and then we'll start in quarter 4. So we're pretty good on completing those inspections.
Okay. Is there a certain amount that you're trying to meet every year?
Actually, we're just trying to stay on schedule. And that's been our goal in all of our programs, just to stay on schedule and to get to those facilities as they become available to do for inspection.
Okay. Any questions from the board members? All right, we're keeping it very easy today. Thanks, Randall. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on the list is going to be the executive officer, Brandy Myers.
Good morning, presiding officer and members. I hope to maintain the trend of keeping it easy this morning. Wanted to give you an update on our strategic plan. So from the last time that we met in February, the agency has gotten the instructions, has done this entire process, and we're about to put a bow on this plan and send it over to the governor's office and the legislative budget board. This is a statutorily required plan that we do every 2 years, and it's looking at the agency's outlook for the next 5 years. And so we're looking at this for a period of 2025 to 2029 is what we're looking at for the strategic plan. The way our agency does strategic planning is unlike any other agency in the state. This is not a checkbox task. This is not a, we got it done, turn it in, go to the next kind of thing. We are very invested in this task, and we get a lot of feedback. We do that by holding internal and external sessions with stakeholders. For the external part of it, we actually went to 5 different cities in the state of Texas during the spring. We went to El Paso, we went to Harlingen, we went to Arlington, Houston, and we had a session in Austin that was also virtual. So we have done a lot of outreach. We received through this process well over 6,000 comments from everybody. So there was a lot to go through, and our internal staff has done just a phenomenal job of sorting all of those comments, looking at, you know, how we can implement these things. We ask 4 questions when we go out to do these sessions. We're asking, number 1, what does TDLR do well? Number 2, what can we improve upon? Number 3 is, if you were king or queen for the day, what rule or statute or process would you change? And then the 4th question we ask is, in 5 years, what kind of changes do you see happening in your industry? You, especially those on the screen today, are our experts. And so we rely on your input for getting these kinds of things put together, having that weight and having those opinions in our strategic plan. And so we went through this entire process. We sorted the 6,000 plus comments, and we have filtered and come down to what looks like is going to be our strategic plan. We talk about things of who we are, what challenges we faced, who we're going to be in the future, what our goals and strategic initiatives are. So all of that is being put together right now through our agency staff, and I can tell you they are doing a phenomenal job of this process, and this report will be due on June 1st. So stay tuned, 1 more week, and we will have it published. So that is the update from the executive office, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brandy. Appreciate it. Any questions from the board? It does not seem like there will be questions. Thank you again, Randy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
You too. Okay, moving on with the schedule to item F. And that's going to be an education and examination work group report. And that is something that I will cover myself. Last meeting, there was a discussion of potentially changing some of the requirements for the assistant in our profession, the assistant prosthetist orthotist. So we met and we discussed that. So let me go ahead and read the report, and then we'll kind of go from there. So the Education Examination Division work group report, it was on April the 22nd that we met, and then we also met on May the 10th. The attendees on April the 22nd are going to be Stephen Cleary, Stephen Euchre, Chinesi Villanueva, The advisory board members that were present were myself, Eric Olson, Randy Duncan. That was on April the 22nd. On May the 10th, we met again, and the TDLR staff, again, Stephen Leary, Stephen Euchre, Chinicity Villanueva, and Brian Bell also joined us at that time. And then the advisory board members was myself and then Eric Olson. So basically the issues, like I kind of mentioned earlier, a little more detailed, is going to be that Mr. Olson expressed that 3 hours of college physics should not be required for an assistant license, and that it poses an unnecessary barrier for the individual to become licensed with the department. It's primarily due to the mathematic prerequisites for most of the physics classes. And the fact that the job of an assistant doesn't require an academic understanding of the science of physics. And it's kind of what Mr. Olson was kind of asking us to kind of look at and review. So that's what we did. At the first meeting, Mr. Olson suggested the possibility of allowing another physical science course, such as kinesiology. We also talked a little bit about doing biomechanics as a potential, if there's an entry-level biomechanics course in place of that physics. I myself basically asked for more time to research the available courses and suggested an alternative of adding associate's degree upon option into the rules. So adding that instead of changing the requirements of the physics. Basically, in which an associate's degree in applied science would be deemed to satisfy the science education requirements for the statute. So instead of recommending or changing the physics requirement, we then add the associate's degree in an applied science and an option. That was my suggestion after I kind of reviewed things. In looking at the history of what occurred in the past, at one particular point, before we joined TDLR, the requirement was definitely an associate's degree for the assistant position. In addition to the associate's degree, and if it was included in the associate's degree, a requirement for anatomy, a requirement for physiology, and a requirement for algebra or higher was there, including the requirement of physics and chemistry. And that's the way it was before we joined TDLR. Somewhere between when we joined, but it was before we actually joined TDLR, that was changed to what it is presently, which is going to be anatomy, physiology, and then a physics course. Back then, at that particular point, we felt that in several discussions, we felt that an associate degree was too much of a hardship to require to allow an assistant to become licensed in our profession. So we changed that. We eliminated the associate's degree, and then we are now like we are where we're at now, where we say we need anatomy, physiology, and physics. So that's kind of the history behind that as to where we're at now. Up until now, there really hasn't been anybody that requested a change to this, and this is the first time we're kind of getting together to kind of discuss that. So going back to what I'm reading here, I provided some history about the program, mentioned associate's degree option to be included in the rule, but it was removed when the program transferred to TDLR. At the second meeting, the work group further considered the matter and recommended amending the language in the rule to provide an associate's degree option and we're going to propose it at the board meeting now. So yeah, to kind of again review this just one more time. I feel as though if we can add two options instead of what we have now. So the first option would be an associate's degree in an applied science would meet the requirement for them to apply for assistance. They can do that, or they can do basically what we have now, where we still stick to you don't have an associate's degree, but you need to have the anatomy, physiology, and physics to leave that as is. And basically, kinesiology was discussed, and I'm still open to kind of discuss that further if we need to do that. But with the kinesiology, I felt as though there wasn't enough information in the kinesiology course that discussed application of forces, which is what I feel is the reason why we included physics and why it's still there. Anything that we do as prosthetists, orthotists involves some level of application of forces, and I've always felt that still needs to be included because these assistants are going to be given a lot of responsibility. And yes, they're supervised, but still some level of education, structural education, I feel is going to be important regarding that. So that's kind of where we're at. Any
Steve
comments
O'Leary,
from the
Assistant
board?
General Counsel. I just want to make a quick point of order. So we have the work group report on the agenda, and today we can discuss the report, ask questions about the report. Now, I understand the report recommended a change to the rule. We can't deliberate today on the rule change itself. If we want to do that, if there's interest in changing the rule, what we can do is make that a topic for a further advisory board meeting. But I just want to make sure we toe that line that we're discussing the work group recommendation, the reasons for the recommendation, and we're not actually going to deliberate changing the rule today. Because we had talked about putting that on the agenda, but there was not time to do that. But if there's interest in that, we will add that for the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
So any comment from the board regarding the report? Any input?
Yeah, Miguel, y'all are gonna keep working on this just to kind of keep going back and forth to see what would be an appropriate action if we wanted to put it on the agenda next time.
Correct. That's my impression from Steve. Yeah. No other comments? Eric, did you want to any input or mention anything?
No, just that the work group went really well, and the creating more pathways to increase the number of assistants out there. At our work group, they discussed how many licenses were issued, and it is a very low number. So I'm glad we're addressing this as a group.
Thanks, Eric. Like I would mention to our work group, yes, something like this needs to be reviewed. So thank you for bringing it up, and we'll continue on to kind of figure out if there's other pathways we can definitely provide to increase the number of assistants in our profession.
Yes, perfect. When would the work group meet again with Steve to get this stuff processed for the following meeting and posted with the state and all that?
Stephen, is there a time that we didn't plan a time when we met last? So any comment on that?
Well, the proposal was assigned to the work group, and today we've given the work group report. So if we want the work group to meet again, we can do that. But the other thing is, I can just go ahead and, agenda item 8, recommendation for next board meeting, we can, if you want, we can address changing the rule to change the education requirement for assistant as a item for the next meeting. And I understand the work group's recommendation was to add the associate's degree requirement. And so we can add that to the next agenda item. We can just go straight to the next, put on the agenda for the next meeting. I can go ahead and draft a rule to discuss at the meeting. But if you want the work group to further consider the matter and meet again as a work group, then you can assign it back to the work group or so direct.
Okay. So I still feel we do need to meet at least one more time and definitely add it to the agenda for the next meeting. So we'll do that. I don't know, we'll pick that date today, or the work group will meet again, or we'll just do it over emails to figure out a good time for us to meet. That'll probably be the best thing. All right, any other discussion on this item? If not, we'll move to item G, discussion and possible recommendation on the proposed amendments to the existing rule. Let Stephen Leary, Stephen, take this one.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Stephen Leary, Assistant General Counsel. The proposed rules were published in the Texas Register on March 29th, 2024. Now, at the February meeting, the board recommended some changes to the original draft rules. We incorporated those changes in the version that got published. We received one comment, and that comment was from the State Representative Carolyn Harris Davila. She was the sponsor of the House version of the bill. And I'm going to share her comment, a redacted version of her comment up on the screen. She recommended some additions to the rule. I met with staff, with program staff, and with our government relations person to go over those comments. And having done that, I recommend we incorporate some, but not all of her comments in, the version that will be recommended to the board. So we'll go through that. I'm going to go ahead and share on my screen excuse me, got a little difficulty there. Okay, do you have the comment from Representative Harris Davila on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now that was also distributed to the board members, and in her letter, she raises 3 bullet points. She recommends adding, changing the phrasing from the amount the provider the amount due to the amount the provider alleges is due. And she's recommending that for clarity and legal accuracy. We support, staff supports making that change. That we don't really see any problem with doing that. It does track the language of the statute. Regarding the plain language description, she recommended that the agency provide a list of third-party guidelines that define plain language and maintain it on a public website. Staff doesn't recommend that we do that because it poses an additional burden on TDLR that's not in the original bill. And staff doesn't feel that that's really necessary at this point to have third-party guidelines to define what plain language is. And the third point is that the rules should have a clear prohibition against attempting bill collection without first going through the itemized billing requirements, fulfilling the itemized billing requirements. That is in the statute itself. So staff recommends adding that to the proposed rule. I'm going to share a marked up version of the rule draft, which will have the version that was published. Excuse me. I apologize. I always have a little bit of a hiccup when I share my screen. Okay, very good. Anna, do you have the rule up on the screen? Should have.
I do, but can you zoom in a little bit more?
Okay. Yes, I apologize. Okay.
There you go.
So the relevant section is in section 114.70E, itemized billing. What you'll see on the screen, the underlined text is what was in the published version, and the part that is in red is the part that we're recommending changing today. part that's double underlined in red is an addition, and the part that's bracketed and has double cross through is a deletion. And what we recommend is adding, well, you can see it on the screen, adding in the prohibition against engaging in debt collection without first going through the itemized billing and fulfilling those requirements. Also, we're recommending the change in part C, excuse me, E3, that the facility alleges is due rather than the amount due. Yeah, those are the only changes that staff recommends making. I recommend that we discuss this today and the board incorporate the changes that you see on the screen and recommend approval of the proposed rules as modified by the full commission. Available to answer your questions.
Any questions from the board?
Steve, can you put that back up?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Apologize. Okay. So you should have the marked up rule text up at this point. I'll note that because these changes, they don't impose any additional burden on the licensees that isn't already imposed by the statute, and they don't make the rule applicable to any additional people. It's been determined that if we make these changes, it wouldn't require republication in the register.
Okay.
So these changes, they're seen as being non-substantive because they're mirroring the requirements that are already in statute. So I want to make that clear.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Do we need to make a motion to adopt a change?
Yes, there would need to be a motion to recommend the changes, to recommend the rule as modified to the full commission.
All right, so do I have a motion to make the change that Stephen has presented or showed us?
Yeah, Randy Duncan, motion to alter the language as recommended for submission.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
David Arns, I second.
All right. We have a second. And we, at this point, will vote. Anna?
Yes, sir. Miguel Mojica,
Yay.
David Arens,
Aye.
Randall Duncan,
Aye.
Mark Kirchner,
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
The motion passes, sir.
Great. Thank you all very much. Moving on to item H, recommendations for agenda items for the next board meeting. We have already mentioned the fact that we want to potentially make a change to the assistant requirements. So that we want on the board, on the agenda. Is there any other items that we would like to add at this particular point?
And as always, if y'all have anything that comes up between now and then, if y'all think of something y'all need on the agenda that we forgot to mention today, you can just simply email me and just let me know.
Thanks, Anna. If there isn't anything else, then the next item on the agenda is going to be I. Discuss the date and time of the next meeting.
This one will be after the work group has met. So I will pull y'all for the next board meeting, but it will be,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll wait till that time comes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Did the individual that had the public comment, have they joined us?
No, sir, I didn't see him pop up. He's not in our lobby and I don't have an email from him, so
Okay,
I think we're good.
so we don't need to wait for him, nothing, yeah.
No, sir.
All right, then. I think at this particular point, we are moving very quickly, which is good to a certain degree, as long as we covered everything, all the important stuff. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
No motion needed, sir. You can just adjourn the meeting.
Okay, so we are going to adjourn the meeting at 10:44 a.m. Thank y'all very much again for your time getting together for this meeting. Appreciate it.
And thank you, Mr. Mojica, for taking over as our presiding officer for the day.
I hope I did okay.
You did great. Thank you so much.